know what time it is. You see that bridge behind me, right? You see that bridge behind me? We in San Francisco, okay? The Bay Area, home of the NBA Finals. Game 1 tonight. I'm in the house. Yes, I am. And ready to go. Are y'all ready, Molly? Are y'all ready?
Okay, time out, Stephen A. You think you're big time? We got a bridge here, too. Game 1 of the Finals. Look at this. Live from the Seaport, and I got these two. Jay Will coming off a huge win. I might be more excited to talk about your game than Game 1 of the Finals. And JJ Redick, how we feeling, fellas?
I'm feeling great. This is like Christmas morning. We get to watch great basketball for the next 2 weeks. Isn't it awesome?
And you know what else?
Yeah, I mean, very Maverick. Look, when I found out we were going outside, I was like, I got to wear my shades today.
Yeah,
you know, it's the one time to be on TV with shades.
Hey, Stephen A., so I checked the weather report for you. So it's 50 degrees in the Bay. I just want you to know it's 71 here now. So we're cool, but you have fun out there.
Yeah, but y'all don't have the game. I'm just trying to get over the fact that not one but 2 Duke players are starting off my damn show. I got a problem with that, especially with JJ Redick wearing the fly shades that should be reserved for me. All right, y'all. Y'all in trouble already. Y'all in trouble already.
We just leveled it up today. All right, let's get this show started. Yeah, do that. Sit back and enjoy the show. Let's get it. Celtics versus Warriors from the Bay. Game 1 tonight on ABC. This Warriors roster has played in a combined, gentlemen, 123 finals games. Meanwhile, a much different story for the Boston Celtics. No one on the Celtics teams had ever played in a final. So here's the deal. The Warriors remain the favorite to win their 7th NBA title, which would move them past Jordan's Bulls on the all-time titles list. The line has moved slightly since Wednesday. Golden State carries 123 career games of NBA Finals experience. The Celtics, as we said, none. All right, Stephen A., I'm starting with you. What is the biggest factor that will determine this series?
Well, first of all, I got to admit, I'm a bit salty right now, and it ain't because of the weather. I mean, that basketball court there looks fly, and I know the NBA had everything to do with that basketball court being there. And the fact that the NBA would put that basketball court there while I'm out here really, really has me having an attitude right now. But that's all right. That's all right. I'm going to get over it.
Time out. S.A., hold on. Time out. This is the best part. You were here yesterday. As soon as you got on that plane, they started setting up the court.
Or, Molly, you could make the case that they saved the court for real shooters like JJ and I to actually be on it.
Nobody wants to see you play basketball, Stephen A.
I love you, big bro. I'm just saying.
I didn't say that.
I saw Max Kellerman shoot the ball yesterday.
Time out. How wrong y'all are. Now, I ain't going to sit up there and say I can do a lot of things, but I can shoot the damn rock. Do your homework. Now let me get to the, and by the way, I damn sure can shoot better than Alan Hahn, Bart Scott, and John Johnson. So let's just throw that out of the way. Now, having said all of that, let me get to the basketball stuff here, okay? When I think about a key in this series, I'm thinking about the Boston Celtics having a size advantage, an advantage in physicality, particularly with their wings, a Jason Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, a Marcus Smart. That is an awful lot for the Golden State Warriors to deal with. It really comes down to this for me, and guys, y'all can appreciate this because of who both of y'all are and what y'all meant to the game of basketball, particularly at the collegiate level and, of course, to some degree on a professional level. The bottom line is it's going to come down to making shots. I think in the case of the Golden State Warriors, with all the physicality that the Boston Celtics have in their favors, the size, you've got Robert Williams and Al Horford on your front court. You've got rim protectors and things of that nature. I just think that Clay, Steph, and Jordan Poole, 2 of the 3 have to ball every game. It's got to be 2 of them. It's got to be 2 of them. You're going to have to ball for 4 games in order to win this series, because I don't think there's ever going to be a case where the 3 of them are struggling offensively and you're going to beat the Boston Celtics. I got this as a pick'em series, even though I'm picking the Warriors. The bottom line is Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole, 2 of the 3 have to get off over the course of 4 games in order for them to win the championship. That's where I'm at with it.
JJ?
No, I think the deciding factor in this series will ultimately be the Celtics defense, and we've talked about this a bunch. The switching nature of their defense. They were number 1 in the league in regular season in switching. They were number 2 so far in the playoffs in switching. When the Warriors have run a pick and roll and the defense has switched in these playoffs, they are last amongst all the teams in the playoffs in points per possession. The Celtics do more of that than anyone. What the Warriors have done at times is target weak defenders. They did that a ton in the Mavericks series. And what that does is it creates 4-on-3 opportunities on the backside. They're not going to have those opportunities in this series. When they doubled Steph Curry in the Mavs series, they absolutely tore them apart. I'm not saying Steph won't get doubled in this series, but at some point, you are willing to live with a Robert Williams, with an Al Horford, a Grant Williams guarding Steph in space with all of that size in that gap. The Warriors, for them, if they want to have a chance in this series, if they want to win, it's got to come down to ball movement. There's a number of stats that back that up. This team, the body and ball movement, they do it better than anyone in the NBA. That's ultimately is what's going to give them a chance to beat the Celtics and win this series.
You know, I agree with you both. I think one of the deciding factors for me is just because of the defensive player of the year nature in which he holds that position, is Marcus Smart. Number one, the health of Marcus Smart. You have the ankle, you have the quad, you have the foot. How will that affect his defensive tenacity? 3 days off, I think, is enough time for him to recover. But staying attached to the hip of Stephen Curry, not taking easy bailout switches when he doesn't need to, because as a primary defender, I think he provides a great shield for Stephen Curry, considering he's held him to 29% shooting from the field over his 8-year career. So that's on the defensive end of the ball. Staying below screens, whatever pin downs, flares, staying attached to the hip. And also on the offensive side, we've seen this Boston Celtics team at times be loose with the ball. Now, they made a huge turn in January when it was one of the pieces on why they turned, but when Marcus Smart decided, hey, I have to choose my shot selection differently, I have to get other people involved, and when he does that, initiates the offense, this team is at its best. So I think Marcus Smart will be a pivotal piece in how he guards Stephen Curry, but also his shot selection, his ability to create shots for others, and his leadership, that toughness, I think is going to be a necessity for the Boston Celtics.
Guys, I want to throw this out. I want to throw this by both of y'all, and I'll defer to y'all. Obviously so. But I got to tell you this. When we look at Boston, they go up against the Brooklyn Nets. Is incredible as both KD and Kyrie are, you know, we know that they were deficient in a lot of other areas, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, so you could afford to turn the ball over. Against Milwaukee, there was no Chris Middleton. So obviously, even though Milwaukee was tough, because obviously you got Giannis, the reality of the situation is they were a bit depleted, not having the ultimate mid-range gamer in Chris Middleton, who was good for 20 a night. And obviously, he helped buffer Drew Holiday as well. He wasn't there for you. And then in the NBA Finals, obviously, the Miami Heat are gritty. They're tough. They were led by the greatness of Jimmy Butler. Nobody's denying that. But in the end, they were far from a prolific offense, particularly when you consider the fact that Tyler Hero, the sixth man of the year, was out pretty much the last 4 games or so. Even though he played in the Game 7, he really had nothing left to give you because that hamstring injury ailed him significantly. I'm looking at the Boston Celtics, and I'm saying the Golden State Warriors are an entirely different animal. You can't afford to turn the ball over. Remember, going in, if I remember correctly, JJ, I think it was like game 4 or 5. Jason Tatum was leading everybody in the playoffs in turnovers. He had like 60 turnovers in the postseason entering like game 5. Obviously, Golden State Warriors turn the ball over too, so that's a problem. I'm just saying that if Boston turns the ball over in this series, Golden State is the kind of team that can really, really make you pay and pay dearly for it. And I think it's a different animal.
Stephen
for them. What do y'all say to that?
Stephen A., isn't Boston a team that can make Golden State pay too? Like I hear all the things that you're saying.
Golden State can't turn the ball over.
I know, but I hear all your reasons behind, you know, who Boston has played. But like at the same time, when you think about Golden State, okay, so Golden State played a Denver team without Jamal Murray, without Michael Porter Jr. And they played a Memphis team with Steven Adams, who was out due to health and safety protocol. He made a huge difference when he came back in that series. And Ja Morant then played the last couple of games. You know, they played a Luka team in which Luka had to be incredible in order for him to get by. But let's not act like both teams didn't have things that they needed to work on to get to this point where now you're playing both teams being at their best. So all the things that you said against Boston, like, hey, Boston doesn't seem a team like Golden State. Golden State doesn't seem a team like Boston.
But
it works both ways.
That's why that's why I posed the question to both of y'all, because what I'm trying to say is that we know that even though Golden State is a pretty damn good defensive team, Boston is the elite defensive team. in this. I mean, they just been sensational defensively. I'm saying Golden State's offense is so prolific that Boston can't afford to make the mistakes. I know that Golden State can turn the ball over, but at times Boston's offense isn't what we like it to be. JJ, you and I lamented how at times we've watched Boston and we've seen their one-on-one play, and it wasn't attractive basketball to watch. Now they amped it up, they cured the ills, and they cleaned stuff up, and we get that. But they tend to fall back to that from time to time. Golden State is lethal offensively. When they get rolling, they're like a locomotive. You can't stop them. That's the only reason I brought it up, Jay.
Well, no, look, when we talk about factors in this series or things to look for in this series, you bring up an excellent point, Stephen A., and that is the turnovers. In the Warriors' losses, they have way more turnovers. And as we know, they go through stretches of games where they get a little careless with the ball. Draymond trying to fit a bounce pass in on a back cut. Steph throwing an over-the-shoulder left-hand, one-hand pass out of a double team. Like, these are things the Warriors do. On the other side of that, we saw that time and time again throughout the playoffs. When Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have big turnover nights, it's hard to win in the playoffs. The Celtics specifically, they can withstand poor shooting nights. They can't withstand high turnover nights. We saw that specifically in that Miami series. The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit in this series specifically is the Boston Celtics in the clutch. They were 1-4 in the clutch going into Game 7 against Miami in the playoffs. That game shouldn't have been a clutch game. Their offense completely stalled out in the last few minutes of that quarter. And in the regular season, they were awful in the clutch. They were 13-22 in clutch games. Jason Tatum, in particular, in the regular season, 2 for 25 from 3 with 13 turnovers to 7 assists. Like, those are two things as this series progresses that we have to keep an eye on.
All right. Essay, I'll let you. You good? Okay, because I'm going to transition
No.
here.
I posed the question to them because I wanted the audience to hear from both of them about what question I had. I want the answer,
for sure.
So I'm good.
I want to focus on the star of this series who's trying to win his first ever Finals MVP, and that's Steph Curry, gentlemen. So Curry is a career 38% shooter in 28 NBA Finals games. The former MVP has tallied over 26 points per game and over 6 assists. Only LeBron has more 30-point games in the Finals among active players. The Chef has 10 of them. JJ, will this be Curry's toughest challenge in the Finals?
Absolutely not. The toughest challenge that he's faced in the finals was in 2016. This is after 2015 when they beat the Cavs and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love were injured. This is before Kevin Durant signs, and they've got a fourth superstar in 17, 18, and 19. 16 in particular, that was the series, if you remember, Stephen A., when the Cavs sort of set the blueprint of how to try and stop Steph Curry. And that is being physical. That is body contact all the time off the ball. That is being up in pick and rolls. There was a couple years there, I played against it, where it was hard to figure out how to guard the Warriors. Now, they've been able to win a bunch of games and obviously get to the finals this year playing their way. They have figured out how to do that. But it's the reason that Steph Curry hit the weight room. It's the reason that he became elite in conditioning. That 16 series set the blueprint for the rest of his career. And you're talking about prime LeBron James, prime Kyrie Irving, probably a prime Kevin Love, and a bunch of big wing defenders like J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert. Like, to me, that was the toughest test so far, rather than this Boston Celtics. And that's not to discredit this Boston Celtics defense, who I believe is perfectly built to defend in the modern NBA.
I respectfully disagree with you, JJ. I think this is the toughest. I think this is the toughest. I do agree with you that was the blueprint. I do agree with you on that. But that Cleveland Cavaliers team, as lethal as they were and ended up being, were not these Boston Celtics defensively. Not throughout the year. They were a top 10 defensive team. I think they finished like 8th or 7th overall, if I remember correctly. And I know that, listen, Iman Shumpert, we all knew what he could do defensively. J.R. Smith wasn't something to sneeze at, obviously. You had Tristan Thompson and other guys, Kyrie Irving. You get all that, Kevin Love. You saw all of that. But at the end of the day, when you look at Boston, you saw there were elements within the Cleveland Cavaliers defense, let's say a Kyrie Irving, for example, or a Kevin Love to a lesser degree, that you could exploit at least a little bit. In the case of the Boston Celtics, who can you exploit defensively? Your reigning defensive player of the year is Marcus Smart. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have size, athletic ability, agility, etc., etc. And we know what Al Horford and Robert Williams III bring to the equation. So when I look at least at the starting five, and then I think about Grant Williams and Derek White coming off the bench and what they bring to the table, I would make the argument, JJ, I get where you're coming from. I totally agree with you that the blueprint was set in 2015, 2016. But if I had to give a defensive rating between that team and this Boston Celtics team, I would go with this Boston Celtics team, understanding that you're right about that blueprint.
I'm gonna let Jay Will answer the question, but I'm also gonna tell you why you're wrong. But go ahead, Jay Will.
Stephen A., I have to agree with you on this one, though. And I get what JJ is saying about the physicality. For me, it's about those exploitations when it comes to the end of a shot clock and being able to target certain players and say, if you're not willing to be disciplined the entire length of a shot clock at the end of a possession, we can find a way to get the right mismatch. And for the Boston Celtics, their ability to switch everything at the end of a shot clock and utilize that length, and metrically, historically, it's one of the best defensive teams that this Golden State team has ever faced in any of their games, let alone the NBA Finals. So I have to agree with you on that one, Stephen A. Now I'm ready to hear why JJ tells us we're
get
wrong.
at him, JJ.
I get the argument for the defense. Again, I've praised the Boston Celtics defense now for 3 or 4 months. The thing that your guys are missing is the LeBron James component. And all the reasons that we talk about the Celtics struggling on offense, they don't have a guy like LeBron that can orchestrate down the stretch, that can manipulate and control possessions offensively. Jason Tatum, as good as he is, he's one of the top 8 players in the NBA, first team All-NBA. He is not that guy. Jaylen Brown is not that guy. And I love Marcus Smart. I'm probably Marcus Smart's biggest fan, to be honest with you. He's not that guy. So, yes, we can talk about the defense. It's the other side of the basketball as well, with LeBron James able to control, make smart decisions, hit the right guy over and over and over again. Stephen A., I've said this to you. I said this to you the second time I ever came on the show.
Okay.
I've played against LeBron. I know how hard it is to stop a LeBron James-led offense. It's nearly impossible.
But this is not who their best opponent is, Stephen A. It's who. Go ahead.
No, I want to respond to JJ. First of all, JJ, understand something. How many times will I tell you, you got to know what you're doing when you on first take? Let me tell you how slick you are. Now listen to this, Jay Williams, because we gonna get it right here, Jay. Jay, we gonna get it right here. This is what JJ did. I understand what the question was. So based on what the question was, you're right, JJ. You're right, JJ. Here's what you did. When you first answered the question, you brought up Cleveland's defense. So we were disagreeing with you about comparing the defense from Cleveland to Boston. That's what you did. Then when we answered the question, you came back and said, wait a minute, the LeBron James component.
Did I not say in 2015, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love did not play in that series? In 16, they had all those guys in their prime.
Come on. I
said that. I did not. Don't accuse me of changing the question. Don't accuse me, Stephen.
You know JJ doesn't like when people change the question.
JJ tried to change the question. That's what he tried to do.
You know that.
But I will say, though, in JJ's defense, controlling the tempo of the game does affect how you can play in the defense. There is something about control. Just to add to his point, it is interesting about LeBron James and the ability to control the pace of a game, time and situation to capitalize on that. That is an additive piece that I didn't think about before that does relate to the defensive side of the ball as well. So they do go hand in hand.
Listen to me. He's right. And Jay Williams, you're right with what you just said. All I'm trying to say is that I was addressing what J.J. Redick initially said about one defense compared to the other. That's all I'm trying to say. Mr. Top Gun, because that's what we're going to call him today. Mr. Top Gun. He tried to switch it.
You're the question on this show.
Hold on a second, Stephen A. You're accusing me of something that I didn't do. Stephen A., this is a debate show. we are allowed, after everybody has their turn, to build upon our argument, which is what I did. You should know that. It's your show.
Now he's telling you the rules to your show.
I conceded that he built upon his argument by bringing up the LeBron James component on the offensive end, that he was absolutely right. I was just addressing his initial comment about Cleveland's defense being tougher than this
Listen,
Boston
I
Celtics
understand.
defense.
You see us out here getting a tan. We're glowing in the sun.
I am jealous.
We're all
Molly, I
together
can't
on this
front.
beautiful. The
I can't
fans are
front.
lining up. It's finally good to see some people out
Molly,
here, and we're living our best life. And you feel
Molly,
left out, but I'm here for you.
I can't front. I am jealous because, damn it, it's cold out here right now. It's cold. I had to put on my jacket, and then to see y'all out in the sunshine like that in New York City, it really does have me a bit ticked off. I can't front.
Listen, I wish I were sleeveless. I'm getting warm out here. I'm actually put some SPF on. All right, let's pick this game, guys.
Y'all
So
gotta
I've
rub it in
said
like
this
that? Y'all gotta
stat
rub it
a
in?
multitude of times. These
You were just in
Celtics,
Miami.
hold on,
Stop.
let me transition here, guys. The Celtics are the only team in the NBA with a better record against the Warriors in the Steve Kerr area, but the Warriors are favored. So let's go around and pick this series, and I'll start with you. Who do you have winning the chip?
First off, I can't wait to watch it. I actually have the Golden State Warriors winning.
Okay.
I think I have them winning in 6. I do think when it's all said and done, their experience will be the deciding factor. I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, they will be back in the NBA Finals, just like the Golden State Warriors will be. But I think there is something about going through the process for the first time for this Boston Celtics team.
What's wrong with your face?
He just
Go ahead,
gets annoyed.
I personally am very confused by this procession of answers from Jay Will. In the very first segment, the question was, what will be the deciding factor in this series? And Jay Will talked about Marcus Smart, who's on the Celtics, and then he picks the Warriors and verbatim says the deciding factor will be the Warriors' experience. I don't know about the flip-flop here.
Stephen A.
Stephen A., what is going on?
I'm
a point guard. JJ is more of a shooter, so I'm expecting to know all the nuances. When I first said it, I did not say verbatim he'll be the deciding factor. I said the matchup that I'm looking forward to more than anything will be Marcus Smart. So there's a little crisscross for you, Stephen A.
Well,
we got
that's a valid point.
here.
That's a valid point.
But
that don't mean that I'm not siding with my man JJ, because I am partial to shooters more so than point guards, I must confess. I am partial to shooters. Now, Mr. Top Gun, we gonna support Mr. Top Gun today. I mean, he got the #1 movie out right now. We gonna support Mr. Top Gun. Okay? That's what we gonna do. All right, we gonna do that. Okay. But in the end, I would tell you this: when I look at the Golden State Warriors, I view this as a pick'em series. I truly do. I mean, if I hadn't been picking the Warriors all year long, I don't know what I would have done, because I ain't jumping off the ship. But I got to tell you something right now. Boston can beat this team because they defend. Usually when we're thinking about youth, Jay, when we're thinking about youth and teams that haven't been there, it's a team that's really, really good, that's got a lot of talent, that you expect some things from offensively. It's rare that you see a team this young, this inexperienced in terms of championship hardware, championship experience, that's this elite defensively, led by a first-year head coach who has elevated their defensive prowess significantly. I can't say enough about the Boston Celtics. I'm just of the mindset, I am partial to shooters. I am partial to dudes that can pull up from 40. And I don't think that there's a defense for that when they're flowing on that level. And then I got to take into account the fact that Otto Porter Jr., Gary Payton II, others have been practicing now. And so you're expected to have some additional bodies that will contribute to your defense being elevated. And offensively, their movement without the basketball. Here's the key, guys. And JJ, I want you to answer this as well. Both of y'all, of course. Golden State can't do what Boston has a tendency to do. Stop dribbling all the damn time and trying to dribble through defenders and acting like you can't get stripped. Golden State is adroit at spreading the floor, making sure their spacing is appropriate, and distributing the basketball and catching and shooting as well. We've seen Steph and others dribble the basketball. They don't need to do too much of that in this series. They need to have their spacing right, be selfless, pass the ball, shoot. The more you dribble, the more prone you're going to be to turnovers, and that will hurt you against Boston. I don't believe they're going to do that for 4 games, and that's why I have Golden State winning this series in
JJ,
7.
final
Golden
word
State,
here,
okay.
and then I got to get to another tournament that happens.
That's totally fine. I'm going to stick with my pick that the Celtics are going to win on the defense. On the experience side, I'm not completely buying that as it relates to this Celtics team. They've been to 3 conference finals already. When you look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in terms of a list of guys, 25 or under total playoff wins, they're at the top of that list. And I want to say one thing about the Warriors. To your point, Stephen, and it's a great point, because the Warriors are going to have to turn this game into a track meet. And when you look at how they play basketball, assist percentage, hockey assists, fewest dribbles per touch, amount of time with the ball per touch, like all that is best in the league. They move the ball, they get body movement, they lead the league in made cuts or made layups on cuts per game. Like that's how they're going to have to play. Going against this Celtics defense, we've seen it throughout this playoffs, it's not the answer when you go head on. You've got to get this shifting side to side.
All right, the two of you going with the Dubs, JJ going with the Celtics. Stephen A., I don't know if you know this, but Jay Will already broke in this court, and a trophy was actually already handed out ahead of the finals, and it's kind of a big deal. It was 20 minutes of intense action. Luckily, no major injuries, just heavy breathing and sore bodies. Jay Will dominating in the 2-on-2 showdown yesterday, putting up 10 of the 11 points as Jay and Key take home the trophy over Barton High. Look at that. You guys, I mean, you went all
What did
in.
I tell you?
No, I have enough trophies at home. I don't need to go grab that one. I'm okay.
Okay. Stephen A., are
What
you
did I tell you?
surprised by the Jay Will result here? Because I
No.
need you to break this down for me. Did you see that film just now? It's intense.
First of all, let's rewind the clock and revert back to my prediction. I predicted that Jay Will and Keyshawn, really Jay Will, would do this. Okay, Alan Hahn, mad respect for him, got love for him, played Division II ball like me, but damn it, he ain't Jay Williams. Bart Scott. Listen, this is a dude that was a linebacker and a safety on the National Football League era. Once you get addicted to hitting people, that's all you know. Right, you know, Bart Scott wanted to give me his background about how he played ball and he has a scholarship and he was a 2-sport scholar. I don't want to hear all that. You were in the NFL, all right, for a decade knocking people upside their head. And all of a sudden, you going to go back to the finesse game that's basketball. I knew that Bart Scott wasn't going to be able to do, but he's just too damn big and muscular, and he's addicted to pushing people around. That's not basketball, okay? And then Keyshawn, God bless him. God bless my brother. I mean, the huffing and puffing. I saw that when he was practicing. All right? But Jay
the
Williams.
tape doesn't lie.
Jay always looks in shape. Jay is playing ball more often than people realize. And this is a guy that was a National Player of the Year and a national champion. Now, if they had J.J. Redick out there, I think the game would have been closer. But I'm going with Jay Williams. And sure enough, he proved me right.
Yes.
I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of my brother.
Because I didn't feel like I had to wear shorts.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
Well, JJ can understand this, and Stephen A. can too. There have been many times in college where you came out of the locker room at Duke and you see the other team warming up and you're like, okay, today's gonna be one of those days.
It's gonna be a good day.
That was us yesterday.
It's gonna be a good day.
I'm getting buckets today. I'm gonna feel good about myself when it's all said and done. We've been there, Jay.
JJ, you just retired. What did you think of the film?
Well, I would just say this, I'm not surprised by the result. And what's the Brian Scalabrine line that he said to the random player who tried him one-on-one? He said, I'm much closer to LeBron than you are to me. Let's keep in mind, Jay Williams played in the NBA. Even after his unfortunate accident, he played in the NBA. Like, he's an NBA player. He's just on a different level than all those other guys.
Exactly.
By the way, I got to tell you, though, Stephen A., I had to stop Keyshawn from warm-ups. Keyshawn was breathing hard during warm-ups.
Yes.
I had to shut him down.
Yeah, Key needs to get in the show.
Can we say something about our brother? Can we say something about our brother Keyshawn? Can we say something about our brother Keyshawn? Keyshawn has lived a very, very comfortable adult life. Highly successful. Number 1 overall pick in the NFL. Finished a businessman, a family man. That brother ain't got to work out. He ain't got to. And sure enough, he showed you he don't do much of that. So, I mean, it is what it is. We understand.
Stephen A., he doesn't got to, He doesn't got to, but he should.
He should. Thank you, Molly.
Okay?
Thank you.
He should. We should all be
We
working
all
out.
should. We
Okay.
all should.
Sometimes
But
on these shows you
listen.
can catch strays. Keyshawn's taking direct hits today.
Direct hits.
Direct hits.
Listen to everybody out there. Listen, you don't mess around. I don't give a damn how good you think you are. Cats who play professionally, respect, and stay in your lane. You know, I know I can beat them brothers. I know good and damn well I can't beat J.J. Redick and Jay Williams. See, I know. I know this. You understand? You have
We
to
can keep the
know
court up, Stephen
better.
A. I mean, we
Say
can
what?
keep the court up. We can keep the court up here now.
I mean, I
if you
kind of
want to
feel
get
like
involved
JJ and
on
I had
this.
the backcourt that never was, and I wonder if we were to challenge other analysts how they would pan out. I'm just, throwing that out there.
They wouldn't be able, the non-pro players would not be able to mess with y'all. I would tell you this, I'd be better than what I saw.
Stephen A., you pick a partner. Someone at ESPN, and me and Jay will play y'all. All right? And we're going to target you every single time. We're targeting you.
Tyron, I agree because
Whoever you're guarding.
I wouldn't be
We
able to
don't want
stop
you to
y'all
agree.
Time out.
Who are you
Y'all would
picking?
beat me, but I'd get mine. You
Wait,
beat
what do
me,
you
but
mean
I'd
get
get
yours?
mine.
What do
I
you
wouldn't
mean
look
get
like
yours?
Wait,
that.
hold on.
I wouldn't
Stephen,
What do you
I wouldn't
mean
look
get
like
yours?
that.
I thought Magic's on countdown tonight. You picking Magic? Who you got? Who's your partner?
Let me think about that.
Stephen A., I guarantee you will not score one bucket.
Wow.
Excuse me.
I guarantee
Wow.
you. Jay, would you agree with me?
At times in my career, I was a defensive liability. On this court against you and whoever else at ESPN,
You're Marcus
I'm
Smart.
a star defensive player.
Marcus Smart.
I'm a star.
I don't think you will get one bucket, Stephen A.
Let me explain this to y'all. I'm not making excuses, but I'm gonna make a guarantee. All right?
Okay.
Because I got to get ready to have another shoulder surgery next year at this time. Y'all will still be here. We can do that. I promise, and I'll be 55 by then. I
Okay.
promise you, ain't nobody shutting me out. I promise you that. I don't give a damn who it is. Now I didn't say I'd win, but me not score a bucket, please. Y'all better watch
All right.
your mouths.
We'll give you.
You
we'll
better
give you
watch
a
your
year.
mouths.
We'll give you
JJ,
365 days
I'll wait.
of training.
I'll wait for-
We'll
I'll wait
a
for
year.
it.
You
Can't
wait.
wait to pull up this
You
tape.
wait. I gotta have shoulder
I
surgery. You know
wait
that.
to pull this tape up.
What's-
I gotta have another
What's
shoulder.
the date
I gotta have
today?
another
June
shoulder
2nd?
surgery.
Okay.
I'm not faking it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
faking it. Now, mind
Get in
you,
the gym.
y'all are my type of players. I got nothing but love for y'all. I'll step my place. I ain't saying I can compete or beat y'all, but
Yeah.
to
No,
say
you're
that
saying
I
score a
wouldn't
bucket.
score a basket.
You
Oh,
ain't
no,
scoring
no,
a
no,
basket.
no. I don't give a damn who
You're going to
it
have a hard
is.
time putting
You
the
know,
ball on the ground.
Listen, training starts
Whatever.
today.
Whatever.
All right, let's leave it there. You guys are the best. Coming up on First Take, much more on the finals live out here from the Seaport. It's a beautiful take. So here's the deal. You can either pass off the question to Jay or JJ, or you can take it yourself. First topic here.
Okay.
Who will have the bigger impact on this series, Steph Curry or Jason Tatum? Pass or take?
I'm going to pass this to JJ.
Oh, I appreciate that. Obviously both these guys are going to have a huge impact on this series. I talk all the time about Steph Curry being sort of the sun in the orbit of the Warriors universe. Ultimately, because I think the Celtics are going to win, Jason Tatum has to be the guy for them. He's got to have a huge series on both sides of the basketball. So ultimately, I think Tatum will have a bigger impact, and the Celtics will win the series.
Well, the first thing I want to say to you, JJ, is be very, very careful about the language you just used, because you brought up the sun and the orbit. You were starting to sound like Kyrie Irving there. You want to be careful about that. Want to be careful about that. That's
We
number
live in
one,
a
okay?
heliocentric solar-
You just want to be careful about
We
that.
live in
You
a
want to be careful.
heliocentric solar
You
system.
brought up the sun and the orbit.
Exhibiting facts. I mean,
You brought up the sun and the orbit, so I'm just looking out for you, my brother. I'm just looking out for you. You want to be careful about that. Number two, I get where you're coming from. I still think it's going to be Steph Curry, because I think that Steph Curry has to in order for them to win this series.
Okay.
And I got him winning.
All right, up next here, who's going to end up with more rings, Steph or LeBron? Stephen A., are you passing or taking this one?
Oh, I'm going to take this one.
Take it.
I believe that when all is said and done, Steph Curry will have more championships than LeBron James. I'm not happy about that. I'm not sad about it, because I love me some LeBron James too. But LeBron James is on the Lakers, and as both Jay Williams and J.J. Redick have so eloquently stated on numerous occasions, look at the Lakers roster. Now let's look at the Golden State Warriors. They are in the finals. I'm picking them to win this one. If they do it, Steph Curry already ties LeBron James. Then let's look at the Warriors moving forward. Steph Curry will still be there. Klay Thompson will be even better next year. Jordan Poole will be even better next year. Kuminga will be better next year. Okay? Wiseman will return. Draymond Green ain't going anywhere. Okay? And so when you look at it, you got Moses Moody, Gary Payton II. Look at this squad. I believe the Golden State Warriors are winning 2 of the next 3 NBA championships.
It's a tough task.
That will put Steph Curry past LeBron James.
Jay, what do you think?
I would agree.
Yeah?
I would agree. I think the core is intact. I mean, look, a lot depends upon what moves the Lakers front office needs to make as it relates to Russell Westbrook and some of the other pieces. But like for me, it's about that core has been intact for a very long time. And sometimes we overlook cores that understand what winning culture is all about, how to win that championship experience, and having 2 of the greatest shooters that the game of basketball has ever seen with a quarterback in Draymond Green with young pieces around it. So I would agree that the Warriors probably win more championships, but at the end of the day, we're having a conversation about LeBron James being the best player of all time.
Yeah.
Right? The Warriors could be one of the greatest dynasties we've
That
seen.
wasn't the question.
I understand. I'm
The
just giving
question
my
is,
overall
who finishes with
opinion
more
about the
rings?
question.
More rings. So
Who
you think
finishes
Steph's
with
going to
more
end up with
rings
more
doesn't
rings?
equate to better.
We're
in
not
my
saying
opinion.
that, but you're saying Steph based on the team that he's on, the
core, yeah,
situation
sure.
he's in.
Yes.
JJ?
Sure.
You know, I think it's probably more likely that Steph ends up with more rings. I agree with both of you guys. Steven, I have a question though. Like, this is what I'm having a hard time figuring out. Why 2 of the next 3? Why not just the next 3? Like, why? I don't understand that part of it. Like,
Because he wanted to teeter
why
the
not
line.
2
He didn't
of
want to
the
go
next
all the way
2?
over.
Why not 2 of the next 2? And by the way, we've talked about this a bunch already. But like, one of the reasons. You know, the Warriors have this amazing championship window that's been extended now because of the development of Jordan Poole, because of guys like Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins starring in his role, Kevon Looney starring in his role. Like, this is sort of vintage Warriors, what we saw in this first iteration of this dynasty in 2015 and 2016. They will be right there for the next several seasons. I get that. But let's acknowledge that the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, LA Clippers.
Listen to you. Listen to you.
The West is going to be harder next year.
Pelicans.
It's going to be harder the year after that.
Hello.
It's going to
Hold
be
on,
harder
hold on,
the year
hold on,
after
hold
that.
on. What was your
Hello.
answer?
I think
He agreed.
No, I think it's
So
more
everybody thinks
likely.
it's Steph?
No, personally, what I
It's
think is they end up
likely.
with the same amount of championships. That's
The
what I
same?
think. Yeah, I think they both end up with
Molly,
4.
may I respond? May I
Of
respond,
course,
Molly?
sure. You have
Is
permission.
this
why-
not the
why
same
do-
JJ Redick? Hold on.
I just wanna-
Is this not the same JJ Redick that just said why 2 or 3 instead of 3? You just told us why I can say 2 or 3 instead of all 3. Because of the competition. See? 2 or 3 instead of 3 feet.
He's just trying to mess
You
with you
just
because
told
he
us
thinks
why.
it's ridiculous, the 2 or 3.
It is ridiculous.
That's what
for
he
sure.
doesn't
It
like
is
your
not
take.
ridiculous,
He
Top
thinks
Gun.
your take's
Top Gun,
ridiculous.
Stephen A, don't
That's
hedge,
what
just
this
own
is
it.
all about.
But Stephen A, you know
It's
what
either 2 or 2 or 3 or 3. Let's go.
Stop it,
You know what I
please.
hate this
I say 2 or
conversation
3. Don't
does?
tell me what to do, Top Gun. Just because you got the top movie in America, don't do that.
You know what I hate about this conversation?
Whoa,
is because
geez.
it takes away. I feel like it takes away from the greatness of LeBron James, and I'm not saying
Oh,
that
will
any
you
of
stop
us.
with your
What?
emotion?
This is just a fun
I mean, I'm
little
gonna start
game
calling you
called Pass
Dear
It
Abby.
Over.
Will you
fun
stop
games
it?
with you people
Why
on
are
this
you-
show.
why are you
He's
shooting
calling him
me?
Top
Why
Gun.
are you
He's
guys
yelling at
getting
people
all
for no
deep and
reason.
intellectual
Me
on it?
being
We're
diva,
playing
he's
a little
saying
fun
2 out
for
of
the
3.
fans. Like, everybody take it down a
All
notch.
I'm saying is
Relax.
it tries to diminish the greatness of
Oh, my
LeBron James
God.
getting
No
his team
one's
to the finals each
diminishing
and every year.
LeBron James.
All I'm trying to
We're just having fun.
both can be great at the same time.
Oh,
All right,
my
hold on,
goodness.
That's a fact.
All right.
Hold on, hold on.
That's
Molly,
I'm just
Can I
Molly,
move on? Yeah.
Molly J, can
Yeah.
we lower our voices and
See?
calm down?
Talk reasonably.
It's important that we
Molly
do.
was yelling at me.
Okay, we're not
All right,
disrespecting LeBron James. We just
Essay,
talking about
I got another one for you. Oh my goodness. Pass or take? Who's the better defender? Is it Draymond Green or Marcus Smart? Pass or take it?
I'm gonna pass this to Jay Williams.
I'll take it. So I think the experience factor people will give to Draymond Green. I will give it to him as well. But I'm biased because I am a guard. I think it's a combination of the defense and the role, because I think the role matters and responsibility matters. And I know for Draymond Green, he is the essential quarterback of the team. But I think Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year, for a guy who's 6'2", 6'3", is out of this mind. The effort that it takes to sustain the pressure that you put on the ball the entire length of the court, to guard a guy like Stephen Curry, to have the physical toughness that he's had in these moments, I would have to go with Marcus Smart in this situation because I think Marcus Smart has to deal with all these other things, initiating the offense, and the experience isn't there to the same degree that it is for Draymond Green. So, once again, I'd say what you say?
Initiating the offense, that ain't the question. It's about the better defense.
Oh.
So my answer, Stephen A.
Don't get frustrated.
I'm not getting frustrated.
I'm
I just took a
teasing
second
you.
to pause. I just took a second to pause to compose myself to not let Stephen A. get underneath my skin. My answer would be Marcus Smart because of his ability to apply full court pressure, because of his ability to turn you on the perimeter. I don't see Draymond Green having those same skill sets. I see him more as a traditional big who can guard in the shot clock situations.
Well, in this particular instance, I think you are wrong. First of all, in fairness to Marcus Smart, he was not, as much as I'm happy for him because he's an incredible defensive player, he was not my defensive player of the year. It was Mikal Bridges for the Phoenix Suns. Having said all of that, Draymond Green would have been right there if he didn't miss so many games once he went down due to his injury earlier in the season. I think he had missed about 32 games, something along those lines. He missed a big chunk of games. Nevertheless, I look at Draymond Green as an undersized dude who is constantly called upon to defend bigger individuals constantly. And he vacillates back and forth. One time it's a bigger individual. Another time it's somebody that might be out on the perimeter. Draymond Green is switching sometimes. Sometimes he's forced to face guards. He does a lot of things to protect the interior of the Warriors defense. And I think that Draymond Green is one of the most versatile defenders we have ever seen in NBA history. I have him as a better defender than Marcus Smart.
All right, let's get GQ in here.
No, I can't believe
Top
that
gun.
I'm actually agreeing with Stephen A., but it does happen every now and then. I agree with you because I do think Draymond Green, what they're different defenders. I think his overall impact on this Warriors defense historically has been greater than Marcus Smart. I also agree with Jason Williams to a degree because I think guards and their defense and perimeter defense as it is gets undervalued by all of the metrics because all of the metrics favor blocks, favor steals, favor deflections, favor defensive rebounding. And obviously big guys have an advantage in all of those metrics, specifically with defensive rebounding. It's why Rudy Gobert grades out so well analytically year to year. Draymond, specifically playoff Draymond, is as good of a defender as we've seen in NBA history. I firmly believe that. And the fact that he only has a Defensive Player of the Year award is a travesty.
So you agree with Stephen A. Say it.
Well,
I
he
said it.
agreed.
Just don't antagonize me.
Say it again.
You tell me I'm getting
Say it
angry.
again.
I know.
You tell
I
me
agree with
He
Stephen A.
knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
This is what he
Yes, I
does.
agree with
Stephen
I
A.,
agree.
the Eagles in the sport,
I
it's
agree
just a
with
lot.
Stephen A.
It's a lot. It's a lot for one person to deal with. Hey, Stephen A., I don't know if you could see it, but it's not Jerry Jones' yacht, but I do have a ship back here, too. So there's just a lot happening that you're missing out on. So
Yeah,
it's
you know what?
It's unfortunate, but enjoy the
and
bay.
meanwhile, I'm seeing sharks and killer whales right in the Pacific over here.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's true. It's true.
You saw the sharks and
I ain't
killer
getting in that
whales.
water.
Oh, okay.
I ain't getting in that water.
Can't with
It's
this
sharks
guy.
and killer
This
whales
guy.
over there.
And killer
Oh
whales.
my gosh, the drama. All right, we'll leave it there. Still to come
Yes,
on First
it's
Take
true.
Someone. It is Friday Eve. First Take live from the Seaport. And gentlemen, it all goes down tonight. Game one of the finals from the Bay. We got the Young Guns Celtics versus the Vets, the Dubs from the Bay. Game one on ABC. The Warriors roster has played in a combined 123 finals games. Meanwhile, much different story for the Celtics. No one on the Celtics team has ever played in a finals game. The big three and the beam has been dialed in. Jason Tatum set a regular season career high, while Jaylen Brown averaging nearly 23 per game in the playoffs, the highest of his career. Boston is getting over 65 a game this postseason from their big three. Stephen A. joining us from the Bay, getting set. He'll be with the NBA Countdown crew tonight. That'll be on 8:30 Eastern before the game.
Hello, Molly.
Yeah.
So nice here in New
Can I
York,
chime
Stephen
in
A.
for a second
Yeah, of
before
course.
we even ask this question? I can't even front.
Yeah.
I'm highly upset
Why?
that we picked the day when I'm gone to do the show out here. The set looks absolutely beautiful. You understand? It looks great. You look great, Molly. Jay Williams, you just finished winning the basketball tournament. We got Mr. Top Gun here, right there, and JJ Redick, a.k.a. Tom Cruise, with the #1 movie out in America. I mean, you got the backdrop, the East River, the boats,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
people hanging out outside. I'm really upset that this set wasn't created for me while I was there. I'm very upset about this. I got attitude right now, and it happens to be warmer there than it is here, so I'm really ticked off. I really
But you get a chance to
I
see the
gotta
greatest
say
shooters of all time, Stephen A. You're on the court
up
tonight.
close and personal.
That's a fair balance.
Come
That is true. That is true. And I'm gonna,
You know
I'm gonna
what?
have pretty-
You know
I'm
what
gonna
I
have pretty
say,
good
though?
seats too, Jay. I'm gonna have pretty good
shocking.
seats.
You're
I know
going to
you
have
are,
good
brother.
seats. You know what?
I know you are.
Last time I checked, you've got a little bit of power here at ESPN. Guess what? We could play it back. We got a rooftop. We got the basketball court. We got the seaport. The weather's nice now. Maybe we'll just have to come outside once
They've
in a
been
while.
lying to you, Molly. Little
Why?
old me, I have no power. I have no
please.
power here. They've been lying to you. I am nothing.
Don't get
okay?
confused with me.
Little
All right.
old
Let's
me.
go.
I'm starting with you here, JJ. Tell me this. Which Celtics needs to have the biggest impact in the finals?
For the Celtics to win this series, it's got to be Jason Tatum. And we've seen an ascension this year from a star player to a superstar player. First team All-NBA. I firmly believe right now, prior to this series, he is a top 8 player in the NBA. And a big difference between Jason Tatum prior to this year and Jason Tatum this year has been that commitment to defense. He actually led the Celtics in defensive win shares, and we saw throughout this playoffs his brilliance on that end of the floor. Kevin Durant, round 1, 4 for 17 when Tatum was the primary defender. Drew Holiday, 10 for 25 when Tatum was the primary defender. Jimmy Butler, as good as he was in that series, shot 39% against Tatum. And Tatum, because of the switching on the Celtics, like he'll eventually end up on Clay at times. He'll eventually end up on Curry at times. His commitment to that end, his dominance on that end at times throughout these playoffs, like that has been the separator for me. That's why we can now talk about Jason Tatum as a superstar. The big question mark with Jason Tatum right now, if I was to analyze his game, and we talked about it earlier, is that decision making. It's the turnovers. It's knowing when to drive, knowing when to pass. It's not stalling out with the basketball. The Warriors are a great defensive team, just like the Celtics. His decision making is probably the key to his game to unlock for the Celtics to win this series.
JJ, and I agree with everything you're saying. And we all know realistically it's not one player that wins a championship. It's a collective unit of a team. But
Yes.
in my opinion, in order for Jason Tatum to be that guy that constantly hunts and is able to attack, Marcus Smart being on the floor, we all saw that game when Marcus Smart wasn't on the floor. Jason Tatum trying to initiate offenses, trying to make decision making. One of the things I recognize as a guard that hunted my shot all the time, the less decisions I can make, the more in attack mode I can become, the more I can react to the game. Now, I'm not saying Jason Tatum doesn't need to think through the game, because when you elevate your game, you always think and react. But Marcus Smart being on that floor, the role that he's going to have defensively on Steph, and I know the Golden State Warriors are way more than just Steph and Curry these days, but I think that's a huge pivotal piece that we kind of overlook sometimes. So that's one with Marcus Smart guarding Steph, but also Marcus Smart and his decision making and the collective ability to calm people down, to get Jason Tatum to a place where he can react and be aggressive. I think the role of Marcus Smart in this series is by far the most important role. I know Jason Tatum has to be prolific and score the rock, but controlling the pace and the tempo of the game, if Marcus Smart can elevate his game to that level and slow down runs and take possession of the ball and limit turnovers, I think my voice is spiked. Think about that. I've been talking all day long.
No, you're good.
But I think that's
you did 4
important for
hours
Marcus
of TV
Smart
before this.
and for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it's all good. SA, where are you?
Jay, I don't think either of you are wrong. I think either of you obviously make very salient points. I'm going to lean towards JJ in this regard, though, Jay. The stars have to be stars to win this series. And I think that Jason Tatum is a star. This brother is one of the top 10 players in the NBA right now. I believe he's big time. There's no question about it. He's got to play big time. But I'm going to tell you a name neither of y'all brought up, but y'all ain't going to disagree with this. Oh, Jaylen Brown got to show up too. Jaylen Brown got to show up because this is another star. Now, he ain't Jason Tatum, but he ain't far off. We know the ability that Jaylen Brown brings to the table. This brother's a star. What's the problem with him? Turns the ball over sometimes at key pivotal moments, I might add. Too much dribbling, trying to, relying on his athleticism and his creativity. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it sort of negates what Jason Tatum or Marcus Smart may have done at a particular moment in time during the game. So I would tell you that both of y'all are right. You ain't wrong about the Tatum and Marcus Smart components, even though I side more with JJ in that regard, because I think when you're going against the likes of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers, along with the emergence of Jordan Poole, the experience of a Draymond Green, with Tatum being 6'9", and in a position to use his abilities to take advantage of various mismatches that he might be presented with, I also think that the second offensive option on the Boston Celtics is Jaylen Brown, and he's got to be effective at all. It's going to take both of them in order to win the series. Just like Steph can't beat Boston by himself, he's going to have help. And we all know the collective. We all understand that. But I'm just talking about at least one individual that plays like a star during the games like Steph is expected to. Jason Tatum needs that assistance as well. And that's why I don't want to leave Jaylen Brown out.
Stephen, I'm glad you brought up Jaylen Brown, because this is a really interesting matchup when I look at Jaylen Brown versus Klay Thompson. You know, if I sort of look at how these teams are going to match up, like the assumption is, right, Smart and Curry match up, Wiggins and Tatum match up, the bigs, they'll figure it out how they match up. But Jaylen Brown versus Klay Thompson. Jaylen Brown offensively, Klay Thompson as an elite two-way player prior to his leg injuries, like, can he maximize his lateral ability to stay in front of Brown? That's the thing I'm going to watch. Brown on the defensive end has historically had lapses off the ball, and we all know Klay Thompson is so good in his off-ball movement. So the two of them, that matchup could very well decide not just one game, but multiple games in this series.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this quickly before we get on out of here. How much does the finals experience matter, JJ? Obviously that the Warriors have so much of it and the Boston Celtics have none. The entire team's never played in a finals game.
You know, I do think it matters to a degree in the lead up to the game. Because these days, you know, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the lead up to game one, the days in between games, if you've been there before, like, you understand all of the media is watching you. It's unlike anything you've experienced. The moment feels bigger than anything you've done before in your career. The tickets, getting rest, the travel back and forth, East Coast to West Coast in between games, like, all that matters. And that could be a distraction. I don't think the game itself matters. The game itself is decided upon how I match up versus this team and how you match up versus us. That's ultimately what the game is decided on. But the ancillary stuff, the secondary stuff, like that, to me, could potentially be a distraction if you haven't gone through it before. And as a young player on a young team back in 2009, like, I remember all of us feeling that this moment was so big. We also, I want to bring up one other point. We also felt like we were going to get there again. I can remember sitting on the floor after Kobe beat us in Orlando, Game 5. Me, Jameer, Dwight, we're sitting there, we're watching them celebrate. We walk back in the locker room. We'll be back there next year. We had all these young players under contract. We had this core group of people. We thought we would be back. Sometimes you don't get back. And so for the Celtics, they really have to focus on maximizing this opportunity right now. There may not be another opportunity.
I would say,
Stop right there. Molly, Jay, I hope y'all don't mind. JJ, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about here, just in terms of what you just brought up. I am incredibly curious to know your answer to this question. Who did you feel you had a better chance with winning a championship? I know you got to the finals with Orlando, right? But you were also with Lob City. You had CP3, you had Blake Griffin, you had DeAndre Jordan. Who do you believe you had a better chance to win a championship with? I'm just curious.
That's actually the second Orlando team that lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2010. I thought that was our better team than the team that made the finals. And we had beaten the Lakers twice that year. I thought we matched up a little bit better with them that year. And then my first year in LA, this is sort of, we beat the Warriors in the first round, Stephen A. We tricked a couple games off in that Oklahoma City series. I thought that was our best chance. I don't know that was our best team, but I thought that 2014 Clippers team was our best chance to win a championship.
Yeah. I asked that question because I always thought that myself, because Golden State was just learning how to win. And I thought if y'all had beaten them, y'all could have went to the finals.
All right, we'll leave it there. Plenty more to come from First Take
You did
live
beat
from
them.
the Seaport and the Bay. We're coast to coast today. Still ahead. The Warriors are in the finals. Kevin Durant is not. All right, so that prompted this back and forth between Katie and Draymond on Twitter. Durant started by tweeting, from my view of it, this is 100% false. Draymond then weighed in saying, you have to learn to listen to full takes and not snippets before you get baited into tweeting, champ. Katie then responded, oh, I've seen it, my brethren. I appreciate the compliments, but I disagree with what you said about double teams. That's all. I love the show. I love how everyone's so polite. Stephen A., obviously, Kevin Durant's former team is in the finals tonight. That's why you are in the Bay Area with the bridge behind you there. Do you think he should regret leaving Golden State to play for Brooklyn?
I think he should regret going to play for Brooklyn. I don't think that he should regret leaving Golden State. That's his choice. And I learned that a long time ago speaking to the late, great Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. When I had my television show, quite frankly, and he came on as a guest, we asked him that question about, leaving and departing from Shaq and what have you. And on the record, in front of the cameras, he was like, hey, I wanted to prove what I could do on my own without Shaq being with me. Behind the scenes, as Jay Williams at the very least can attest to, if not both him and J.J. Redick, Kobe Bryant did not like being called Shaq's little brother. He did not like being perceived as a sidekick. And when he was coming up in the business and people were trying to antagonize him and get under his skin because they sensed his greatness elevating, he was like, yo, I don't want to have my epitaph being written about how I needed Shaq in order to do this. I want to show what I can do as the leader of a franchise, in the face of a franchise. And that's his right, because he had already won 3 chips. And he wanted to show what he could do, and he ended up doing it by going to 3 straight NBA finals and winning back-to-back titles. In the case of Kevin Durant, I never agreed with him departing Oklahoma City for Golden State because you had just lost to them, lost a 3-1 lead to them, and then after they come back and beat you, you joined the team a month later. But in the end, as I said when sitting down with him face-to-face with Jay Williams moderating that discussion, I didn't mean for it to be interpreted that this guy isn't one of the greatest players we've ever seen, because we know that Kevin Durant is that guy. So he's a back-to-back champion. He won those chips. They would have won it. They would have three-peated had he not gotten injured, towards Achilles against Toronto. We all get that. So him leaving is not my issue. Okay. My issue is choosing to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving.
Real quick, Stephen A., before Jay Will and JJ get in here, and I know they want to, I want to ask you this. So what team would it have been okay for him to leave for? If that's the issue, the team he chose. Like, which team would you have been good with?
Well, I think from a business perspective, I think the Knicks brand would have been better than Brooklyn, but I don't even mind him going to Brooklyn. I mind him that he insisted on Kyrie Irving being his teammate when he went to Brooklyn, because you have to have somebody that's all in with you, that you know is going to be on that court with you every day.
So it was more the running mate than the actual team. Jay Will?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So answering the question first, should Kevin Durant regret leaving? See, that's how Stephen A. is really good. He takes the question and he kind of changes it slightly, turns into a conversation he wants. That's why he's brilliant. That's why he's on TV. That's why it's his show. He shouldn't regret leaving Golden State at all, because he has earned the right to go off and do it his way. Frank Sinatra, right? I'm going to do it my way. Now, his way is with Kyrie Irving. This whole conversation could be mute next year if this team wins a championship. Establishing a culture is hard. Saying hard things to your teammate is challenging. I trust and believe that even though there's been a lot of static around this team the last couple years, KD dealing with injury. I mean, if KD doesn't get hurt this past year, I don't know if James Harden leaves. I think it's a different dynamic. Now, I know with the pandemic and Kyrie Irving, there's a lot going on. But if they are provided with stability, right, which is for every NBA team dealing with the chaos of it, if they are provided with stability, which I actually believe that Kyrie Irving and KD can get to this place, and if they get Ben Simmons on the right page, this team can win a world championship. Now, people can laugh all you want at it, Stephen A.
I'm laughing.
You can laugh all you want at it.
I am laughing.
If you have Joe Harris, Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving on a mission next year, that team has the talent to win the whole thing. It's not easy to me. You just have to prove it.
JJ?
The answer to the question is no, he shouldn't regret it. But let's go back to how restricted free agency works, because I sort of want to address something that Stephen A. brought up, and that's his decision to leave Oklahoma City. You know, you get drafted by a team. You don't have a choice, by the way, Stephen A., which team drafts you. And then if you're a really good player after your third year, they offer you a very large contract. In Kevin Durant's case, a 5-year max contract. So they basically have control of you for 9 years, okay? So when you get to the end of that 9 years, what Kevin Durant did is he took control of his career. He took ownership of his own career. And one of the things he talked about in 2016 was wanting to play basketball a certain way, wanting to play the Warrior style of basketball, wanting to have fun playing that way, which he got to experience. Why shouldn't he have that right to experience just because they had lost to the Warriors? Like, I don't always buy that argument that people get, that it was, soft of him to do that. Then he goes to Golden State, and he does exactly what he's supposed to do. He wins 2 finals MVPs, takes them to 3 finals. He then is a free agent again. He has every right to choose to go play with one of his friends at that point in his career. He's on the other side of 30. He has every right to go to choose to play with one of his friends. Has it worked out? No. But I said this to you the other day. Had Kyrie Irving not sprained his ankle, had James Harden not been nursing a hamstring, we may be having a very different conversation. This whole question may not even exist because they might have won last year. So things happen. You live with the consequences of those choices. Like I don't think this is anything.
I actually wish. The miracle's about to happen. I actually wish I wasn't at the NBA Finals right now in this moment, so I could be face to face with y'all to debate this. I'm so ticked off that I'm not in front of y'all face this, because we end the show on this subject. Here's my problem. Number one, no one questioned what they have the right to do. We understand that. Stop saying that. We know they have the right to do it. That's not an issue. Just like they have a right to make the decision, we have a right to critique it. When you're looking at a Kevin Durant, if you lose a 3-1 lead, all right, to a team, they come back and beat you, all right, you were knocking on the door. They didn't beat you in the first round. You were in the conference finals. You had a 3-1 lead. They overcame the lead, beat you, and then you join them a month later. That ain't the greatest look in the world. That's all. No shade. It's just a fact. Now, you go to the team. You win 2 championships. You're the finals MVP twice. You cement and solidify your greatness that we all knew was in you anyway, because Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players we've ever seen in our life. Got that. Now we transition to Brooklyn. This is where I'm going to look at Jay Williams in the face. Because let me tell you, America, something about Jay Williams. Jay Williams is on TV as a commentator. Let me tell you something. Let me tell on Jay Williams. Jay Williams is a brilliant brother. Jay Williams always got something going on. He's a businessman. He's a businessman. That's who Jay Williams is. He always got something going on, okay? He ain't going broke. He ain't going to starve. He makes judicious decisions. He's very pragmatic in his approach. He understands things in a way most people do not. Jay Williams would not look at Kyrie Irving and go like this: I'm comfortable making a long-term commitment to you. You know it, because you know there's always something, and that's the point. So what I'm saying is this: you know that you wouldn't do it. We know Kyrie Irving.
I gotta pause you.
I need to pause you.
Stephen A., I need to pause you for 1 second on this take, because I want to get clarity. If you said right now, if Kevin Durant decided to join KD based on the information we have that he wasn't available to play and not getting the vaccine, all that, okay, that's one thing. But if we're talking about 2 years ago, he joined the team in 2019, how was Kevin Durant going to know that something like that? Like, you didn't know Kyrie was untrustworthy then, did you?
Yes!
How?
Cleveland, Boston, yes! Yes, you did! And then he went to the
game-winning shot in Game 7 of the finals.
The first year in Brooklyn,
what are you talking about? He got hurt his first year in Boston. That's the reason he couldn't play in the playoffs. Like, he had a knee injury, a knee surgery.
And by the way, didn't Brad Stevens get removed from the head coach?
I'm not defending what has happened in Brooklyn with Kyrie. I'm not defending any of that. But you can't, in hindsight, go back to 2019 and be like, oh yeah, this guy's super untrustworthy. No one was saying that back then, man. Come on, dude.
No. Time out.
Come
Let me explain something. I'm dead serious. Stay with me. Please stay with me on this. Kyrie Irving works hard. Kyrie Irving is phenomenal and great. He cares about being great. But it's very, very big to him to do things his own way. There are personality traits we see in people all the time where we're able to gauge. They march to the beat of their own drum. Kevin Durant is a dude. I don't give a damn where he goes. He going with sneakers on, ready to pick up a basketball and ball at any given moment. Kyrie Irving's the kind of dude, there's just a lot of things more important than basketball. I can do it, and I can do it on a great level, but it's not that much of a priority to me. You don't need to see an abundance of examples to know someone's personality trait. And if you're Kevin Durant, you're trying to tell me it's beyond the realm of comprehension with a dude that you know that you can't foreshadow and foresee. You know something? The brother's phenomenal and fantastic, and together we'll be great. But the love of the game is not something he shares on my level. You're trying to tell me I'm beyond the realms of comprehension to deduce that kind of thinking if I know Kyrie Irving's personality? Are you telling me I'm wrong about that, Jay and JJ?
No, but I do think it's important to note, though, Stephen A., when we talk about that decision to leave Golden State and team up with Kyrie, that decision was made a year prior to 2019 summer. Like, whatever happened that last year with Golden State. Yeah, whatever happened that last year with Golden State, Kevin Durant was going to go leave and he was going to go play with Kyrie Irving. That decision was made a long time ago, regardless of whatever else happened.
Essentially 4 years ago, if we're going back to 2018.
Yeah.
Right, so exactly, and I'm not pointing to any mandate or any vaccine. I'm talking about personalities. When I go to work every day, there's a reason I want y'all on talking about JJ. I got news for you, JJ. I know exactly what you're gonna bring when you show up on first day. Jay Williams, I know exactly what you're gonna bring, and y'all both know it. You analyze and dissect people's personalities, their temperaments, their traits, and you see whether or not it works for you. We do that in every walk of life. Don't tell me that I needed to see all of this stuff with Kyrie Irving over the last year to know that his personality didn't necessarily mesh with Kevin Durant's when it came for a love of the game.
But Stephen A., let me ask you a question. If they win a championship in the next 2 or 3 years, would that make it worth it?
If they're healthy. Say what?
If they win a championship in the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years, would that make things okay for you if it equates to a championship, or is there still going to be a drama?
It depends on how, because I would say this to you, Jay. What if they win the championship, right? But because of Ben Simmons and all of those other components around KD, but Kyrie is still causing the same kind of drama. What if that happens and they still win?
Yeah, but
is that
Stephen
cool?
A., you can't hold that against KD because he can't control other people.
No, I'm not saying that.
Let me just say one thing. If KD wins, no, listen, don't get frustrated. If KD wins, right, everyone knocked him for even joining Golden State, so now he was going to, do it on his own team. I mean, then he made good on his word.
By the way,
KD
Stephen A.,
will not be knocked for winning. We're saying that in order to win, you got to pick the right partner. KD deserves better than what Kyrie has given him. Not what Kyrie's capable of. What Kyrie has given him. KD deserves better. Right. There is no one who can refute that. No one.
We cool? We good?
I mean, we're never really going to be cool on this subject.
I just want to acknowledge, though, because you brought up the drama, Stephen A. I was in 15 different locker rooms. I was in really good locker rooms. I was in okay locker rooms.
Always drama.
There's always drama in the NBA. And you know what? I always said this, if you're an NBA player, in the season, the pressure, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, you're allowed a couple blow-ups. In some ways, I'm not defending Kyrie here, but in some ways, he has become this entity of its own that we just like to get after and target. There's drama
on every locker room.
There's drama in every locker room. There's drama in every locker room.
I'll make a promise to y'all. Jay Williams, especially you.
There's drama in every organization, even the organizations that are light years ahead of things.
I'm listening to you.
There's drama in every organization.
JJ Redick, Jay Williams, I will make a promise to you here on national television. I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear. I may not like some of the decisions that Kyrie Irving made, You understand? And Jay, you know that story.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. He's a good brother. He cares about a lot of things. He's very charitable in a lot of different ways. His heart is in the right place. Let me tell y'all a promise right here on national television in front of all of y'all. If Kyrie Irving shows up to work, I got nothing to say. Nothing. All I'm talking about is a guy that understands you have a responsibility to show up to work. I won't say a word.
We're super happy I let that go because it was so good. Yes, you want to see a full-time Kyrie, not a part-time Kyrie.
A full-time Kyrie Irving.
Understood.
Is that too much to ask?
We all agree. You're 100% right.
Is that too much to ask?
Let's leave it there, guys. I got to get in a commercial break. Coming up here on First Take, Steph Curry has a chance to win ring number 4. If he does, could he establish himself as a top 10 player of all time? Do not. You know what it is. Good day. Welcome back to First Take live from the Seaport, and we are all fired up on this brand new basketball court getting set for Game 1 tonight from the Bay Area. And gentlemen, this is a treat. It's not a Molly question. It's a fan question we have for you from Kevin. Take a listen.
Hey, Stephen A. Smith, what's your favorite NBA Finals moment?
Wow.
You hear that? Oh, good.
Yeah, I heard it. What's my favorite NBA Finals moment? There's a lot that I can lean on, but I got to admit to y'all, I've seen dunks, I've seen big-time shots like Ray Allen in the finals and with Miami and stuff like that. Game 6 when Chris Bosh grabbed the rebound, gave him the ball. But my favorite, most spectacular all-time finals moment was Game 2 of the 1991 NBA Finals between Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls versus Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers when Michael Jordan jumped in midair, went up with one hand, switched with another. Right here, look at that. Lord have mercy. When you saw that, especially when they slow-moed it, that was something spectacular. To me, that was my greatest move in NBA Finals history. Look at the Lord have mercy. That's what I'm saying. I mean, when I saw that, it was something to behold. No question about it. To me, that was the greatest move that I'd ever seen in NBA Finals history.
And Stephen A., he put the tongue out. Don't forget he put the tongue out while he did that now.
Well, he did that. He couldn't help it. That's what he always did, yeah.
Stephen A.,
that's the move.
Stephen A., my favorite finals moment was also a Michael Jordan moment, and that was in 1998 against the Utah Jazz. When he runs the clock down, he isolates Byron Russell at the top of the key, right to left cross, a little nudge with that left hand on his leg, and then just poses as the ball swishes through the hoop. And keep in mind, he had stripped Karl Malone on the other end on the defensive play prior to that. But that ending to that Bulls run, that photo of him at the top of the key with his back to the camera, looking at the crowd in Utah as the ball's going through the net, like, to me, that's one of the most iconic moments, period, in NBA history, and certainly my favorite NBA Finals moment, with the exception, of course, of getting a stop on Kobe Bryant in 2009.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Go ahead and pat yourself on the back.
Don't hurt him, JJ.
I'll probably go with one that's very meaningful for me. In 2013, I was living down in Miami, and when I got drafted in 2002, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Ray Allen. He was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, spent time at his house, and one of the things that used to always blow my mind is whenever we shot around, it was just the same shot every time. Didn't matter what position on the floor it was effortless. And in that finals game against the Spurs, Game 6, where LeBron missed that three, Chris Bosh, the whereabouts to find Ray Allen in the corner, it wasn't only him making the shot, right? In that moment when literally it felt like the trophy was ready to come out for the Spurs. They were up 3-2. Like all the wind out of the sail had been taken out from the Miami Heat. But for me, watching that moment, I was like, damn, that is exactly the way I saw Ray shoot in the driveway in his home in Milwaukee. Yeah. Like that's who he's always been.
He's one of my favorite players all time.
And it's JJ had that same kind of forward. There's some players where you can freeze in time and it just looks right. And that was Ray Allen, Stephen A. Always.
A slight misnomer on your part. You said it felt like, they were preparing for the San Antonio Spurs to come out and celebrate. They actually were. The NBA, they had brought out the ropes. people at the arena had left the building, and then the doors locked automatically, Molly and JJ, and they were not allowed back in once they had left because they assumed that the finals had been lost and the Spurs would be winning it. And then obviously for some inexplicable reason, Greg Popovich had Tim Duncan on the bench for
what
that
they get
play.
for leaving.
Chris Bosh was able to get the offensive rebound off of the LeBron miss, and he fed it to Ray Allen, who just I was in the arena right there on the opposite end of the court side. It was unbelievable. I get where you're coming from, Jay. They actually brought out the ropes and they were ready to celebrate for the San Antonio Spurs, but obviously that did not happen. But I still go with my move about Michael Jordan in that Game 2 1991 NBA Finals. What a spectacular move.
Yeah, and you'll be in the arena again tonight. Stephen A., your first time at the new Chase Center. Countdown on 8:30 Eastern on ABC. Plenty more to come here on First Take, ladies and gentlemen. I've been teasing it all show. Steph Curry.